and shadows fall, I'll be beside you whenever you call. When worries weigh heavy and fears take flight, I'll be your strength, guiding through the night. And when the days are dark and heavy on your heart, I'll be the voice to guide you through the dim. Strong walls may crumble, but within you've got the spark. Just turn the key, let light dissolve the grim. Did you think you were alone in your feelings? Strike a match, let your inner strength be seen. Welcome to all things serious. In the depths of your despair, where demons roam, I'll be the hand to hold. You're never alone. When storms rage fierce and winds blow strong, I'll be the shelter in your soul where you belong. Welcome to all things serious.
Welcome, everybody. How we all doing today? So we got Ann in the house. We got Betty Dan Boop. We got Little Bit. We got Lisa. We got Luke. How's everybody doing? A little bit calling me Charlie. So, a little bit. You're hilarious. You got me going now. So today's live, we're going to talk about major depressive disorder. And there's probably a lot of people in chat that know what MDD is. Put a 1 in chat if you know what it is. And if not, put a 2. Nicola. All right, Nicole. Just call me Hen. Welcome, Lee. So, I'm going to share the screen. We're going to go over what major depressive disorder is. Okay, a lot of people know what depression is, which is common. All right, let me go here. We're going to read along with it. So this is major depressive disorder, what depression is. And we're going to learn about depression from Craig Salchuk, a PhD, LP, clinical psychologist at the Mayo Clinic. So depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest, also called major depressive disorder or clinical depression. It affects how you feel, think, and behave, and can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. You may have trouble doing normal day-to-day activities, and sometimes you may feel as life isn't worth living. More than just about the blues. Depression isn't a weakness, and you can't simply snap out of it. Depression may require long-term treatment, but don't get discouraged. Most people with depression feel better with medication, psychotherapy, or both. Some people just need therapy. They don't need the other. Although depression may occur only once during your life, people typically have multiple episodes. During these episodes, symptoms occur most of the day, nearly every day, and may include the feeling of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, or hopelessness, angry outbursts, irritability, or frustration, even over small matters. The smallest things can affect you. Sleep disturbance, including insomnia or sleeping too much. Well, I have insomnia, so I don't get enough sleep. Reduced appetite and weight loss or increased cravings for food and weight gain. Anxiety, agitation, or restlessness. Slow thinking, speaking, or body movements. Feelings of worthlessness or guilt, fixating on past failures or self-blame. Trouble thinking, concentrating, and making decisions and remembering things. Well, I'm not going to read this one. You guys can read this one yourself. I'm going to highlight it. I'm not reading it out loud. Unexplained physical problems such as back pain or headaches. Now, depression does affect children. I will tell you that. And I hope more parents acknowledge when their children comes up to them and says they're depressed, and they take care of it right away. It'll help them then, and it will have less issues with them as they get older. I will drop the link to the page, so if anybody wants to read along or read it later on, they can. A little bit. Sounds like you're reading my dating profile. For many people with depression, symptoms usually are severe enough to cause noticeable problems in day-to-day activities, such as work, school, social activities, or relationships with others. Some people may feel generally miserable or unhappy without really knowing why. Depression symptoms in children and teens. Common signs and symptoms of depression in children and teenagers are similar to those of adults, but there can be some differences. In younger children, symptoms of depression may include sadness, irritability, clinginess, worry, aches, and pains, refusing to go to school, or being underweight. In teens, symptoms may include sadness, irritability, feeling negative and worthless, anger, poor performance, or poor attendance at school, feeling misunderstood and extreme sensitive, using recreational substances or alcohol, eating or sleeping too much, self-harm, loss of interest in normal activities, and avoidance of social interactions. Yes, or locking themselves in their rooms. Yes, totally agree. Depression is a very touchy subject, and a lot of people don't like talking about depression because it affects everybody equally. I don't like talking about depression myself because it affects me. It also does affect me as well. Depression is not a normal part of growing older, and it should never be taken lightly. Unfortunately, depression often goes undiagnosed and untreated in older adults, and they may feel reluctant to seek help. Symptoms of depression may be different or less obvious in older adults, such as memory difficulties or personality changes, physical aches or pain, fatigue, loss of appetite, sleep problems, or loss of interest in or not interested, not caused by medical condition or medication. I'm going to drop the link. I'm almost done with what I want to talk about, and then we'll open up the panel. often wanting to stay at home rather than going out to socialize or doing new things. Self harm thinking or feelings, especially in older men. This is the reason why I do that, is to try to reach out to as many men as possible. What's going on a little bit?
Hey, how are you?
Covering a very touchy subject.
Yeah, I was glad to see that.
You know, so I have myself. A lot of people don't like talking about MDD, major depressive disorder, and I've noticed that. I've noticed that. Um, I've dealt with it for years. I struggle with MDD. Um, I'm going to stop sharing this. Um, I'm 43 years old, and depression is not pretty, no matter which way you look at it. And when you're diagnosed with MDD, it's not pretty. So, and the biggest thing it affects in when they talk about unaliving, it affects more men than it does women, believe it or not.
I believe it.
It and this is the reason why I started this channel, is to let men know that they're not alone, and trying to reach out to more men. And it's difficult. It's difficult because a lot of men are in some ways afraid to open up, afraid to talk about their issues because they feel weak if they do. So
You
that's a
said you were 42, Eddie?
43.
43, okay.
You know, a lot of people, a lot of men are afraid to talk about their issues, you know, because they feel weak. They do. I was afraid to talk about my issues for a long time because of the stigma. And you know what? I said, screw the stigma. It's time to talk about it. It's time to bring it to light that men have issues too. And we don't talk about it, we bottle it up. We keep it inside our minds, and because we don't know how to release it, we don't know how to talk about it.
Do you feel like it could be a generational thing of
Yeah,
for men?
I think it's generational. Yes, I really do think it's generational.
And you being 42 or 43, I'm sorry. I didn't want to make you any older. You're welcome. Um, were you taught, um, you know, not to show that type of thing, or were you not, or it just never came up
I
in
was
your
never.
household?
I was told to be seen and not heard as a kid.
Yeah, yeah, I was. That was. I'm. I think I'm 52. Um, and yeah, I was not to speak. I was to be seen and not heard. Um, and I'm a girl. There was four of us, but I was the only one. Um, but that's why I was wondering about um, the generational, because my oldest son, who's 34, he and I know he's got depression, but we didn't do that. Um, but my brothers, which would be a generation above, you know, I never heard my father ever say anything about not talking about it. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but my dad, was always, um, he was silently strong. Um, so I don't know if that was a form of it, but from my oldest son down, and I have all boys, we made sure, that we didn't carry that stigma over. But I do know it still affects them because even though in the household you might not, they still have their peers, whether
Yep.
it's at school or sports or a job. And so I still feel like that affects males.
In my opinion, it does. It does. Because when you're around other men that are hardened, that I would say hardened, not they're, you know, like they got a wall built around them.
Right.
They won't talk about their day to day and what's going on. They'll talk about everything else in the world, but what's really bothering them inside. So that's what I feel. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but there's a lot of men out here who are afraid to talk about depression, being depressed. Why they are the way they are, what happened.
I
Not
do
many
feel like,
men,
hmm
my opinion, and everything I talk about is I'm not a professional. That's the first thing. I'm not a therapist. I am not a medical professional. What's going on, Emilio? How you doing? But in my wholehearted opinion is, and I could be wrong, Emilio, and tell me if I'm wrong, that when we're getting older, we're taught not to talk about our feelings and what we're going through. We're taught to just man up. We're taught not to be emotional. We're taught we're just, it's hard to explain, but we're not allowed to be emotional, in my opinion. We're not allowed to talk about our feelings. We're not allowed to express ourselves. We have to hold it all in and keep it to ourselves. Because if we start talking about our issues and what we go through on a daily basis, we're considered weak. And we are by far weak. We are by far weak.
do you ever feel like it's hard for certain men not to talk about it because maybe they don't know how to articulate it, and maybe other men um, do know how to articulate it?
That could be. That could be. Don't know how to express it properly. So, um, I think there's a stigma, okay, around men who talk about mental health. There's a stigma. All right. And I don't know how to explain it. It's just that some men let things roll off their chest and it doesn't affect them. And then other men hold it in and they don't know how to release it.
Right.
Because I have male friends, that inability takes away from the chance to get attention, treatment, and self support.
hmm
So, say, so it's hard for a man to come to another man and talk about being essayed as a child. That's something that's very hard to talk about. It's hard to say that to a therapist. Plus, we're accused. This is what Roe believes. Plus, we are accused of trying to overshadow others in their issues because we appear to not being affected because we have been trained to suck it up. So, talking about mental health with men, being a man, is difficult because we get judged by our peers.
Like what you were saying in conjunction with what Emilio said, I feel like kind of goes in hand when he says the inability takes away, the chance um, to get attention and treatment for self support. Well, to get attention, I kind of feel like the men, for them to get attention, is rah rah. This is what I did today. I changed a tire. You know, that gives them that manly attention that they feel like they need to have instead of, today at work on lunch, I took a 15 extra minutes because I had some bad thoughts going through my head. And that doesn't sound so rah rah. But
Correct.
so I do feel like the more that it's starting to come out, though, like with people like you and whatnot, I do feel like um, some men are starting, you know,
Well, there are some men starting. Yes, yes. Okay, there are some men starting. See, but the thing is the problem is we don't take, as a world, not just a country, but as the world, we don't take mental health serious. We really don't. And then you have social media, right? Social media even makes it worse because you have a lot of people on social media who self-diagnose themselves
mhm.
having problems instead of seeking professional help and getting the proper help and the proper diagnosis. What's going on, Retro? Good seeing you. It's been a while. Silence. Good evening. Okay. A lot of people self-diagnose themselves. Well, I have depression. Have you seen somebody? No, but I feel like I have depression. Um, or I have PTSD. Have you seek the professional to know that you really have PTSD? Okay. No, you haven't. So before you sit there and say that you have this, you have to get talk to a medical professional. So we as parents of the next generation have to teach our children that it's okay to be in pain and tell people you are in pain. Yes, we as parents of the next generation have to, yes. But when you have fathers, male figures of my generation that are still hardened, that are teaching this generation coming up, if we're not in touch with what we got going on in our personal selves and expressing our emotions, how are we going to raise a child saying it's okay to express yourself if we're not leading by an example?
Right.
That's why I'm
Mm,
saying we got to break the cycle, break the stigma
yes.
on mental health. You get a lot of people who joke around on social media about having mental health issues, and they joke about it, and it's nothing to be joked about. When we don't release those feelings, it calls to maladaptive behavior and warn alternatives. Oh, wrong alternative. Wrong. Not warn. Wrong alternative. So us men, instead of talking about it and expressing ourselves, yes. And I'm trying to bring that awareness to other men that it's okay to talk about what you're going through. Okay, I can change it around my kids to say, hey, there's nothing wrong with having emotions. There's nothing wrong with if you're going through something to talk about it. Okay, but it's getting other men to be in touch with themselves, and understanding, okay, talk about what's going on instead of doing something on a temporary feeling. Okay, instead of acting out on a temporary feeling, talk about it. What is driving you to think that way? What is driving you to want to hurt yourself? What's going on? And talk about it. And try to figure out a way to fix the issue. That's my thing. That's the way I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a community, if we come together, it's so easy to hide feelings, even harder to spill it all out to someone that doesn't know you. That is so true. I can agree with that statement. I can agree with that statement. Sometimes a good therapist, a stranger, can help. Remember, though, that having the necessary monster of society, i.e., the traditional male appearing not 100%, is a possible risk to the group in the form of lack of protection from that man. So lack of protection, okay? So when that man is no longer here, how is he supposed to be that protector? That's my question. If that man is no longer here because of a temporary feeling, how he's supposed to be a protector? There's so many things I want to discuss that I studied on, and I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it. There's so many things that sit in my head that I want to put out there, and I can't talk about it.
Is
I
it
really
because
can't.
you can't talk about it because of the rules, or because of
Yes,
yourself?
rules,
Okay.
rules. I wish I could just talk about it and everything be fine, but my channel is not big enough to do that. Once it gets big enough and it's huge, then I'll be able to, because I've seen other channels talk about it. It's really heavy stuff. Yes, silence. It's heavy stuff. So, but I've talked about what I want to talk about. I want to change the subject before I get myself shut down.
So do you need to be, and just for my own knowledge, your channel has to be so big in order, and I'm not trying to be ignorant, but like, to be able to talk about certain things, and then they won't shut it down because you keep
Correct.
making money on it. Okay, I get you.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Oh, hen, yeah. Don't I need a partner? And to say a man is a protector is a very yes. I need a yes. I totally get that.
But us men are known to be protectors of their family, to protect their
Right.
family. Okay, and that's one thing. That's one thing that in a the way men are raised are to be protectors. Okay, you know, I will tell you this. Okay, in a relationship, yeah, you need a partner. Okay, but that partner's job is to protect his family. Okay, so us men are raised to protect our family from outside threats. That's what we're raised to do. That's what's instilled in us. When you're born, I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to explain. I get what you're saying, Hen. You don't need a protector, you need a partner, which is agreeable. I agree with that statement. But the other part of it is to say a man is a protector is a very old fashioned view. I don't think that's an old fashioned view. I think that view is still today, current today.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if I'm in a relationship, I'm protecting my partner. Okay. I'm protecting my family.
And I think when when protection comes in different many ways, in different
Yes.
forms. For me, sometimes it's not so much that if I, sure, do I need a protector or not? Well, can we protect ourselves? Yeah, we can learn to protect ourselves. As women, or as another man, or whatnot. But also the protector and the man too is to feel safe, but not necessarily from harm. For me, I want to be able to feel safe in other ways too, um, within my own home, um, but not in a way that the man has to be the protector, but not to allow maybe something as simple as a neighbor, you know, uh, saying or doing things, you know, that could harm, let's just say, me and my husband. If my neighbor was to do or say something that my husband heard and knew it could harm me emotionally, or, whatever, and doesn't stand up for me, to me, that's a form of protection for him to me, just as it would be for me to him. So and it could be a girl. It doesn't even have to be a guy neighbor. It's just there's different forms of it for me.
So
If that makes
I'm
sense.
not. I'm not going to get into the whole discussion, but I will tell you this: with me, every man is different, and that's fine. But if I'm out in public and some man disrespects my wife or my partner, they have to deal with me. Okay, that's what I mean by being a protector. When you're in a relationship and you love each other, it's just like if a woman disrespected me, I hope my wife would stand up for me.
Right.
Okay, vice versa. Okay, if a man disrespected my wife and I let him do it, what does that make me?
Right.
So, but usually I come in and I ask how everybody's doing. So,
Well, I was glad to see your notification pop up with MDD today. That to me, sometimes we just kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's like a God thing when certain things, pop up or whatever. It's kind of like, oh, God heard me, today or whatever.
positive
So,
energy.
yeah, I was just really glad to see it because today's been a hard day, for me. Um, so I was just glad that sometimes it gets so hard that I can't come on. Like I want to come on, but it's just one of those days that I don't know. I just can't even bring myself to do it. Um, and today was just kind of like right there. And then when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's his way of saying, you're not alone. There's other people, and I know I'm not alone. But sometimes in those moments, we're not thinking about. At least I'm not. I'm not thinking about other people who are going through it. I don't even think my mind could go there. I'm thinking about the the feeling at that moment and just trying to maybe get to the next moment or to the next minute or what can I sometimes I do try to think, okay, what can I do to get out of this? And I'll try maybe different things or sometimes I can't even do that. I'm just like there.
Yep. So, but thank you for coming up a little bit.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being here, Eddie. Charlie.
Yes. So, I look at it like Silence said, one step at a time.
Yeah.
Takes one step at a time to make a change. One step at a time. I would love to speak in front of a group of high schoolers and see and get a case study, do a case study about mental health, and get just by looking in a crowd and get a sense of raising their hands if people are afraid to talk about their feelings or are they open to talk about their feelings. But see, just call me hen. Just call me hen. That's the big word we're talking about is health. So you can't use that as an example because he has his health means is the reason why he can't work. Okay? But if you have two partners that are equal, okay, that are both successful, what I mean is, okay, protector is not being the breadwinner. You could be, I wouldn't mind being a homemaker. I make a really good housewife, just saying. But the thing is I'm going to protect my family. I didn't know that. And I never knew that because I've never heard her talk about her health issues. Just call me in. I've never heard her talk about it. Like I haven't. She probably has, but I've never heard her talk about it. I can see where you're coming from, Hen. I really can. I can see where you're coming from. I get your point. Okay. But what I'm saying, from generations and generations and generations and generations, for thousands of years, men have always known, are always known to be protectors. Okay. Men are always known for centuries to protect. And the minute men quit protecting and being protectors, that's when nations fall. When men quit being protectors, that's when nations start to fall. When men quit being protectors. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. I could be wrong. But there's nothing wrong with being in touch with your emotions at the same time. You can be in touch with your emotions and be a protector at the same time.
And like Mavid said, men and women are good at different things. And I was just saying that the other night with some people that, it's okay. Sometimes women, some women aren't born with that motherly or, caring, um, chip, if you will. That chip just didn't, but some men are. Um, so sometimes it just depends on knowing um, who does what better, um, and what's best for the whole. Not better in the sense of it's a competition. It's just being real as a couple, as a partnership, as a marriage, as whatever it is, you know, uh, and knowing, hey, I'm better with the kids, as the man, and hey, I'm better with mowing the yard as the woman. So, so be it. So I mow the yard, and maybe this one takes care of the kids. It's just knowing what you have to bring to the table to make things go healthy, for yourselves and if you have children in the home or whatnot. Um, but at the same time, I still feel like men can be better at some things that some women just aren't born with. Um, the stereotype type thing, and but I don't feel like that always makes that man feel less of a man. Um, and I think that's where also it goes back to, it starts in the home, where we teach our children, that it's okay to feel a certain way, um, and not to, um, and build confidence, for them,
So,
or
so
help them.
I think Hen is taking what I'm saying out of context. Okay,
Yeah.
a man could be comfortable in his own skin and still be a protector. Okay, there's a lot of men out there that are not comfortable in their own skin. What's going on, Ro? There,
Right.
there's there's a lot of men who are not comfortable in their own skin. That's the reason why a lot of men, because they don't know how to express their emotions, they take their own life, okay? Because they don't know how to express their emotions. I'm gonna say, and if anything happens to my channel, it happens, okay? 2019 was the worst year for men. 2019 was the worst year. 2020 was too, okay? The unaliving rate amongst men went through the roof because they had nowhere to turn to. Okay. The mental health system is a failure. And plus, society as a whole tell us we can't be in touch with our emotions. Okay. We have to man up. All right. Suck it up, buttercup. No, we don't have to suck it up. We can talk about it, get it off our chest, and then still talk and still be a man and protect our family at the same time. We can still be in touch with our emotions and still be men at the same time. Okay? Like women make the best mothers.
Hold on, Eddie. Hold on. There's something you have to say to caveat to those people that will argue these points. The vast majority of women make better mothers in that role.
Yes.
Doesn't mean your anecdotal experience. Well, I had a third cousin that was a crap mother. That it's an anomaly.
Yes.
It's not the vast majority. The vast majority naturally can be compassionate, loving, caring, and care about somebody else over their own needs. Doesn't mean they all can, and they can do it to different degrees because all humans are different. We don't come out of a factory, although we all do come out of a woman, just saying. But that's not her only role. That's not all she's subjugated to, any of that kind of stuff. It's just, I made the example earlier in chat, and I'm tired of typing. You know me, one-arm man. And I made the example. It is way easier for a man to stand up when he pees. A woman can do this. I've seen it. I paid to see it. A woman can do this, but it's very difficult and a pain in the ass for them, and it's not natural. It's natural for them to sit down and pee, right?
All right.
Does it mean a woman can't do it? No, they can do anything they want to. They are naturally better at sitting. We are naturally better at standing. Our instinct is to be the protector because saber-toothed tigers used to fucking eat us when we're sitting around the campfire. So it's our instinct to be the protector of the group. It's easier for us to do it.
But yeah, we're also genetically.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's also evolution. We've evolved to be this way as well. So.
Yes, but over the last 300,000 years, we have become what we are, and then we're trying to change it in 50 or 100 years. It's going to take a little more time. You know what I mean? And in the meantime, let's not tell a man he's weak because he's having a struggle in his relationship and he needs to talk to somebody. This is something I've tried to get across with Eddie's channel and quite a few times. There is something that I've noticed in the last decade in particular where men used to have our sanctuaries. We could go to the bar, go to the cigar bar, talk about struggles in life and things that frustrate us and not be judged for either being weak, sexist, whatever. And then now we're being told the masculine behaviors like going out and hunting with your buddies, which is just an excuse, or fishing with your buddies, just an excuse to vent about all the things that piss you off in the world. Now we're saying that those masculine behaviors are now bad and toxic. So where do these young men have to go where they can feel comfortable and not put into jeopardy their ability to sell themselves sexually to because we all want a partner in life one way or the other. So rather than risking your reputation and being that way, you have your buddies to go do masculine shit to cover up the fact that you need to cry about something or whatever. And now that's being taken away from us and we have nowhere to turn.
Well, I think Ro, I'm sorry, Megan, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Ro, do you feel like it's starting to turn, though? Are you starting to see any turning point on a positive note that it's not so much like that anymore? I mean, have you seen it yourself?
I'm seeing fellow Neanderthals like Eddie step up and go, I want to talk about my feelings. And if anybody has a problem, don't forget I'm 6'6". Right. So like that really helps. Stuff like this format really does help. And I'm seeing a big turn of women in particular that are saying, screw all this soy boy stuff. I want a man that can carry me back to his cave. You know, I want a man that has traditional feelings and role models because I'm tired of trying to act like a man. So I'm seeing extreme division on the issue. But yes, I am seeing a lot more women saying, I'm tired of playing with boys. I want a frickin' man. Right.
Well, and I'm seeing what you just said, too. I'm seeing that shift of men coming forward like Johnny Depp came forward. and said, "Hey, I am a victim." But that was a big deal. It was a big deal for me because I have a son that's in a situation like that, and I don't think he was he didn't realize it even with me, telling him, because he is 6'6", and he's a big guy, and his woman is like 5 foot, and so he didn't feel like, you know, he had the right to protect himself. That doesn't mean hurt her. It just means, hey, what she's doing is wrong. He's like, but I'm big, I'm strong, I can take it. I said, but doesn't it hurt? And he said, well, yeah, it hurts. I said, okay, it's wrong. She doesn't have the right to do that to you. Just because you're 6'6" and you're, a big guy, it's not okay. But when Johnny Depp stepped out, I think that's, I was glad to see that. When Eddie stepped out, I was glad to see that. I liked what you said, but I do also feel like on the other side, I'm seeing a lot more women wanting to use the power, tools. They're wanting to go, I don't always want to be, you know, the one over here. I want to go out and learn how to do some of this stuff too. And
Hey,
which is absolutely amazing, by the way.
mhm,
That's wonderful. But you shouldn't shame. I see this a lot. Women that shame other women for not going out and learning how to use power tools.
Yes.
oh,
They
right,
shame
right,
other women for not being a strong, independent, modern woman. You know what? Some women don't want to use power tools because they're dirty or gross or whatever the
right,
reasoning is. I
right.
don't give a crap. But
Mhm.
guess what? The few things that I'm good at life are building shit, breaking stuff. Like if you're like saying, hey, can you build this for me? It gives me purpose and I don't feel like I'm just some
Right.
paycheck to you.
Yeah. It's the given, yes. But
I,
also, women don't need to
Sorry,
shame
Eddie, go ahead.
women if they don't have that natural motherly instinct either.
Sure.
Because then, so I think it all goes, it all, it can all go in a circle, but I definitely feel like there is a good shift that's starting. But like you said, this goes back thousands of years. So we're not going to fix it in our lifetime, but we definitely can start it.
Well,
Like
we
what
swung
you're
the
doing, Eddie.
pendulum so far that it's going to take a lot to bring it back to center. If that makes
I
sense.
mean, I think people just got to respect like the activity, the masculine activities. There's no reason to take that away. It doesn't make for toxic masculinity or the red pill movement. I mean, just like women need their girls' night and their girl time, men do too. And that's how we also vent and discuss our issues with the
Hmm.
opposite sex and, and get input from our peers. Men should be able to do the same thing. I don't think anyone should shame them for that. But remember, there's a huge taboo on mental health therapy and all that going through the 90s, early 2000s, where men were looked down upon for feeling their feelings. And now we're
yep.
trying to turn that around. Be like, men should feel their feelings and also fix the car, like be masculine, but don't hide from your feelings,
A
Well,
good
see, the thing
balance.
is, we used to have that. We used to have that outlet. And it was going to the cigar bar. It was going to the gentleman's
Yeah,
club.
but
Not the ones where
that
women take their clothes
so
off, but the other ones.
If they didn't have that outlet with the
Row. We didn't
Yeah.
have that as teenagers. Okay,
Mhm.
teenagers
Well,
can't go
we
to the
didn't.
cigar bar. Teenagers can't go to. They can go hunting with their father. They can go fishing with their father. Okay,
Yeah. Well, we
but the
had
thing
programs
is,
like the Boy Scouts of America.
yes, but not every town and every city and every state had that ability.
Right.
And the thing is that even areas that have that, it still costs money to do it. Okay,
Yep. Yep.
so you have. I come from a Proverbs name growing up. I was poor growing up. Okay, so my life was different. Every person's life is different. Depending on where you're at, depending on what lifestyle you live. The benefits you have growing up. The thing is I didn't have the benefit of having a father. I didn't have the benefit of being a child. Okay, I had to man up at 9 years old. Okay, I had to be the man of the house at 9 years old. Okay, so I
Without
didn't.
guidance, too.
Correct. Without guidance. All right.
Which,
So,
not to interrupt you again, but this is exactly why my single mother raised a good Neanderthal, because she went, I can't guide this guy how to be a good man. I'm not a man. And she signed me up for Big Brothers of America. And guess what? I had great firefighter type people as role models. And what was my first job? Firefighter. Yeah.
So,
you have to have a good, strong role model to not be a fucked up mess. Now, Eddie has fucking come through it like a champion.
I had temporary role models, but temporary is not long term.
Right.
I didn't have long term role models, permanent.
Right. That would consistency is the key.
That would be there growing up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I had people here and there throughout my life, you know what I'm saying, that would do things with me, you know. I learned how to be a laborer more than I learned how to be a man.
Yeah, I learned how to into your strengths, power.
Yes.
Well, and you know, we could take this into a whole different, you know, direction of, you know, in the 70s, it was more common, and I'm not giving an opinion. I mean, I think that these are factual, you know, statistics, but you had more women who stayed at home. And then in the 80s, that started changing. And when that started changing, when you started having women work away from the home and fathers, then you started having what I guess they were calling the latchkey kids. You know, the kids that were coming home and mom and dad both, you know, were at work. And then all of a sudden now you have these kids that it's not because mom's not good or dad's not good. It's because, let's say you're a family of 4, both your parents now are working outside of the home, and you've got all these activities for other kids, and you've got your jobs, and you've got this, and you've got homework, you've got dinner. By the time the end of the night comes, you really haven't been able to create that bond and or give those talks or whatever. And then we kind of started seeing things in society start changing. The bad, you know, the numbers started increasing because
yep.
Yeah. And I think that all kind of goes back to, you know, a lot of this. My husband passed away when 2 of my boys were still at home. One was about to turn 13 in a week, and the other one had just turned 16. And they already had, you know, my husband was helping, you know, plan the 13th birthday party for my son because he understood more of what he was wanting. And then he was also working with my 16-year-old to be able to get his driver's license. But I was also involved, but we both worked outside the home. He fell ill and went into the hospital. And within 3 months, he passed away. And so it was at these, you know, detrimental ages and right in the middle of these, you know, one's about to become a teenager, one's about to get a driver's license. And it's like, whoa, you know, kind of what happened. But, you know, for them. And at that point, I didn't feel like they needed to step up and be men, you know, earlier than what they would have needed to if dad had not passed away. But I didn't find out until just a year ago. My youngest, who's about to be 22, who was the one about to turn 13 at the time, he said, Mom, he said, after dad passed away, he said, I felt like I needed to be the man of the house. And so he had totally different feelings than what I was even aware of, and he couldn't express those. My 16-year-old felt the same way. But he wasn't, I don't think they were expressing much of anything at that point. And then my oldest, who was 23, 24 at the time, was married with 3 kids, felt like he needed to always come and check on it. So they all felt a certain way because of now they have an absence. You know, there was somebody that was there and then wasn't. But, and I always was talking to my kids. So what I did do was I didn't do Big Brother, but what I did do was something similar. One of my boys took to him and the other one didn't want to have anything to do with it. And that was fine. He just wasn't ready. But they felt like they missed out, at least the younger one, on part of his childhood. And hearing that about a year ago broke my heart, because I was like, he didn't need to do that, because I did have everything under control, for what it was. But I think that's a natural thing, that they feel.
I want to lean back on something Nicole said. And I agree with this statement right here. She made the statement, maybe you don't like fixing things or mowing the lawn. You can still be a man. I agree with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a carpenter or a framer. You don't have to be a mechanic. You could be a cook.
You don't have to be a fighter.
No. You could be a housewife and still be a man.
Well,
you could not a housewife, but a homemaker. Not a housewife,
a domestic engineer, Eddie. Get it?
Domestic. That is perfect.
Domestic engineer.
I like that.
You can know how to cook and clean, wash, dry, fold clothes, take care of the children while the wife's at work. A man could do that and still be a man.
Right. And still be ready to pick up that device that will help you defend the house.
So in my
last was a graphic designer, and he said, I don't change tires. He said, I went to college. I make good money.
I can afford to pay somebody to do
that.
Right.
I'm going to have somebody else do it, because that's just not my thing. You know, and it wasn't. Didn't make him less of a man.
And that is some man shit right there. I mean, sorry for the language, but that is definitely a form of being a man. Is like, I provide so well, I have excess and don't have to mow the lawn. I can hire a landscaper. So that is some stuff right there, leadership, whatever you want to call it. But like, one of the things that I love having Eddie as backup, because, he's obviously the epitome of manhood. So anything people want to say is crappy, I can just be like, yeah, ask Eddie if he agrees with me. One of the things that we get shamed for, especially bigger people, because we're on the edge of being scary a lot, is that if we're passionate about something, like this is a subject that absolutely enrages me at times. And when I start getting passionate about it, you hear it in my tone of voice, and you hear me, what people mistake as anger when I'm talking, and it's not anger. When I'm angry, I'm quiet. That's when you got to worry. When I'm yelling about something, that's just because I'm trying to get your attention, and I find that it's easier to yell because then people listen because they're afraid I'm going to eat them next, right? So it rolls down to this. When we are passionate about something, we're looked upon as stupid or crazy or all these different things but oftentimes when your wife, let's say, she's mad at you for, I don't know, not putting the toilet seat down or whatever little thing has come up, right? She's in tears and screaming and all this kind of stuff. That's acceptable behavior rather than having a calm discussion about it?
Not acceptable. People call us neurotic. Right. They call us crazy. They call us hysterical.
Right.
If we if we have a passion for a subject, they're just like, you're just being neurotic and crazy. So no, it's not acceptable. Society doesn't accept us.
You're right. It isn't necessarily acceptable, but it's considered not normal. Unusual.
Yeah, it's normal for women to be crazy and neurotic. That's why,
right.
like,
I mean,
I
remember as a teenager, my dad telling me, he goes, look, there is no such thing as a woman that isn't crazy. You just got to find the one that you can handle their crazy. And that's the one you keep.
And not in their display, on YouTube, it's called Tiffany. You know what I'm talking about? It's like a teacher, and he's being funny, and he's talking about the level of crazy of a woman, and then they finally get to Tiffany, who's that perfect level of crazy. No.
Well,
okay,
I mean, there's something great about
it's a
chaos,
funny little thing,
But Eddie can probably say this. When he does have strong feelings about something, it comes through in his tone of voice, body language, everything else, and people take it as aggression and anger when all we're trying to do is be heard. That's it.
It's the same.
And
on
unfortunately, the only time that we're paid attention to is when you're on the verge of some sort of threat of violence.
Yeah.
A man
I
isn't taken
understand.
seriously unless they're worried about him like beating you up. And I mean that's the overall. I'm not talking about the individual. Again, this is the vast majority. The vast majority of people feel that if a man is talking about something other than cars and he's passionate about it, he must be crazy.
Well, see, I don't see that. But I mean, I know I'm weird. And
Well, and
people,
anecdotally, you might not see that in your personal circle of friends, but when
I'm
you
just
see
saying,
these
my
massive
view,
studies done for 20 different countries over 10 years, and they find out, yeah, people don't accept men having feelings about something. They should just go out and smash rocks.
I'm not saying I'm saying that my views, I don't view people that way, but I understand society's views as a whole. But as women folk, we got the same on the other side, just a little differently. Women are, I mean, we have our own struggles. You guys have your own struggles. And I think that instead of people judging each other on perceived struggles, we should just be accepting and supporting of everybody, and not just be like, you're supposed to fit this mold. I mean, and
as long as you're not harming somebody else, do you?
My rule number one is don't be a dick, and that encompasses so much. Don't be a D.
Eddie knows the one commandment in the Church of Bro.
Well, and Megan, you're right. It goes back to respect. Whether it's don't be a D or respect. Through my eyes, I might see certain things differently because of maybe my background, or my educational background, or whatever. I can look at something and see something different than maybe somebody else with a different background or a different educational background. The important thing is just to be respectful to all, because we don't know what other people are going through. I can be really good and really level-headed for a good couple weeks, and then and be real strong and powerful, and then that next week, and those people who met me in those 2 weeks, if they saw me on the third week, they would be like, who's that? What's that? It's understanding. We don't have to agree that with everything, but I do think it's important to keep an open mind both ways, because we may not agree with this person or how this family does things, but agreeing and understanding that there's different cultures, there's different religions, there's different upbringings, it to be able to respect that and to say, okay, well, that's how they do it. That's not how we do it, but we're going to be respectful about it, and we're not going to try to get them to do it our way, because who's to say our way is the right way? So it's just being respectful.
Hold on. So me has something she wants to talk about.
Well, I mean, Ro's about to say something, so I don't want him to miss the point. I mean, before we change the subject, I do want to say something about my experience.
You have the floor, Megan.
No, I was letting Ro say what he was about to say.
What I have to say never stops, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I have a few things to say on this. I'm one of those women that I'm a total handyman. Like, I can fix things, I build things. I love that shit. I mean, that stuff. Also, and it's intimidated some guys when they meet me, but I'm also very feminine at the same time, and I still want my men to be themselves. And my ex, he was raised a different way, and he was able to open himself up to me. Come to find out that a lot of that was just a ploy, but still, I respected when he would open up to me and he would show his vulnerable side. And I was just supportive. Sometimes my support was silence and just being next to him, But he came from a culture where it's like, you have to suck it up. You have to be the man. You have to, but he couldn't change a tire. He thought Makita was a type of dog, and I didn't look down on him as a man for not knowing that stuff, because he's good. And, he's still a man. He's still great in other fields. It's just not building stuff and changing tires. And I used to change tires, but now I'm older and I have money and I will pay someone to do that. But I think that we got to stop labeling or putting everything in boxes that we label. It's like, okay, you guys are supposed to be in this box. You're supposed to be this way. Because I'm pretty feminine and a tomboy at the same time. You know, and my ex, every time
the
that
two
we
aren't
get in an
mutually
argument,
exclusive.
he did find the fact that like I was like, I save money. I'm better with money. I'm you know, I'm not putting him down, but I make better choices. And I have my own place, my own vehicle, and all that stuff. And he would really take that offensively, and he would attack me, being like, "You just want to be a man." And I'm like, and nowhere in our relationship have I ever shown interest in like changing my gender or being a man. I'm sorry that I'm a better provider, but don't, you know, like, I don't know how to help you with that. You know,
and see, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. The anecdotal experience of you having your man tell you you're trying to be a man is lack of education on the subject, because he doesn't realize what he's saying. What he's saying is, look, there are only a certain number of things I'm good at, and you're better at those things, so that invalidates my existence. And what a lot of men don't understand is, while yes, it would be easier for me to take down an intruder, doesn't mean you can't. But on the same side of it, you have women pressuring women to be the one that takes down the intruder and not let a man run your life and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it really doesn't make any sense. Just do whatever it is you're good at.
I got to give a little pushback there. Because I think it's more people just encouraging women to know how to be independent and how to not have to be like, wait, sir, I have an intruder here, sir, can you help me? Like, to be able to help yourself. That's different than trying to overtake a man. Just be able to. I have a friend who doesn't know how to drive at all. And I'm like, let me teach you how to drive, just in case you need to jump in the getaway vehicle and get the hell out of there, you know, like just for knowledge's purpose.
What happens if the zombies come, man?
I don't think it's women trying to make men irrelevant. I think it's women just trying to empower women to be able to take care of themselves.
I hope it's that way, but that's not what I see.
That's totally what I see. So we do have a difference of opinion.
So
and I get that, and I respect that. Go ahead.
We're leaving the whole entire subject on a whole nother atmosphere. Okay.
Yeah.
The whole reason that I did this was I talked about major depressive disorder. And one of the major reasons why I started is because I know a lot of women are in touch with their emotions and understand things. Okay. But there's men out there who are not in touch with their emotions and don't understand things, how to communicate. Okay. One thing men do is lack the skill of communication. Okay. And that's a known fact. Okay. And that society as a whole, a lot of men don't know how to communicate. We communicate in other ways, but when it comes to communicating our emotions and what's running through us and how we really feel, we do not know how to communicate. We really don't. And that's my major thing is, and for men, is being able to communicate how you feel, and women being able to accept a man who has a weak point, a breaking point.
So let me ask you something, Eddie. Do you feel that's because we don't have a safe place or safe space, whatever you want to call it, to express those things because we're worried about the repercussions of what we would get? Because it's something that I noticed when I was in the 70s, when I was a kid still, it was easy for me to talk to my fellow boys about things that were a problem. I had that support group. Like I know you didn't, but I'm saying it was more broadly available when I was a child for men to talk to men or boys to talk to boys. But now there seems to be this invasion of those safe places. And it's not that that's a negative influence or whatever. It's no matter what, women behave differently when men are around, and men behave differently when women are around. So we can't be our total selves. Do you think we just don't have a place where we can be our total selves?
So, like Mavis said, in my opinion, there's appropriate contexts for us to be emotional and appropriate. But see, the thing is, right? What is the appropriate context for a man to be emotional? That's what I want to know. What is
it's
the
when emotion is interfering with our daily life?
Okay.
It's when you need to get that emotion out. When you need to like.
I understand that, but society as a whole, in reality, when is that?
Society's.
I get it.
Before we snap, right before we snap.
Well, I don't think it should have to be held in that long. I would say, like, Ro, to answer your question, like if you're out at a get together, like at a bonfire or something, and you've got men and women, around, that may not be maybe the best time for anybody, to be that way. But I still think you should always have a safe place to be able to maybe discuss that, the next day. And not saying that you can't discuss it then and there. It's just when you got that many people around and maybe there's other things going on with it, that may just not be the best place. But I if you're in a relationship, I think you should always be able to go to your partner, or a marriage or whatever,
without it being used as ammunition.
Right.
Yes, therein lies the problem right there, Eddie. You
Because
hit nail on the head right there, because you might say something and 2 years later they're going to bring it up when they're in the middle of a fight.
I'm going to tell you what, you can say something, and us women, and we know this is a proven fact, we will bring it up, something that happened 15, 20 years ago.
And
that's just what we do.
Because I'm in touch with my emotions, I can actually talk to women more than I can talk to a man.
Mm-hmm.
Because the last time I went to my best friend, he's no longer my best friend, right? I talked to him about how I was essayed as a child, and I'm getting the help for it now, and I'm struggling with it. And his comeback was, just get over it, right? And I'm like, dude, I never took care of it, so how can I get over it? I never dealt with it. This is the reason why I am the way I am today, is because I never dealt with those issues. Okay.
But I don't think all men are like that, Eddie. I think that if you talked to, some of my male friends and you said that, that's not the response you would get. So I think it's also who you surround yourself with too, and who you choose to
that's
elaborate.
That's the reason why I only have two.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why I have two, like in real life, I have two male friends that I can go to, and I consider them brothers about anything. Yeah. Okay. And I can talk to them about anything, just like they can talk to me about anything. And that's why you need those friends. Okay. I'm not saying have an army of friends where you can talk to every single person, but you need at least that one friend that you guys can talk to about anything to each other. And not be judged.
And the key on, sorry.
Go. What were you going to say, Ro?
The key on that is to pick your friends wisely. So again, I know I talk in metaphors a lot, and this is a problem for some people, but get over it. So you think of it like your car, right? You do plan maintenance so that stuff doesn't break. You don't wait until something is broken to fix it. If you can catch it early, you might be able to fix it easier or better, or whatever the case may be. Same thing with your friends. I have a friend who is just a master with computers. I have a friend that's a master with cars, one that's a master with guns. I'm not going to go to my car buddy to fix my computer. Right.
Correct.
So I'm going to pick the friend I discuss something with. Like maybe he's got a background in psychology better than mine, or maybe he's got more experience with raising kids or something like that. So whatever my issue is, I'm not going to go to the single guy who has no children and never wants children to discuss how do I get through to my teenager, you know? I mean, that would be pointless to ask him what I should do in this situation. So I'm going to pick the friend I go to. Now, in your case, where you go to talk to your buddy and he says, suck it up. It's one of those things where it's like, did you expect him to have a different answer? When
Yeah,
you really
I did.
think about it back and logically?
Yeah,
Well,
I did.
then you didn't know him that well, apparently. Or he's
Yeah, I
gone
did.
through something similar and he's just like, I don't talk about it. Shut up, dude. But you know many people, especially now that you've started this community, that would not give you that answer. You know, there's nothing you can call it. You could be like, man, I just offed my neighbor and, you know, I feel bad about burying him under my back porch and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to be like, you piece of shit. I'm going to be like, yeah, you know, that sucks, buddy. Let's work it out. You know, I mean, and
That
I'm
was a
considered one of the
horrible.
most
That,
big
that
assholes,
was
you
a
know?
horrible explanation, Ro. I have to say that.
No, but it makes the shock value of people to pay attention. No matter what you say, as my friend, you can say whatever you want. I might judge you, but I'm not going to judge you at the moment. I'm going to do my best to try and get you through that.
That's
because,
another thing. That's another problem. That is another problem in society is we judge people.
Sure.
That's another problem is we judge people. Okay. Is we cast judgment on somebody's struggle and what they're going through. We judge them.
Yep.
And that's another struggle we have in society is we judge others by their struggle. Okay.
Yep.
And we don't know what that person's going through. And when that person wants to talk and we judge them about what they're going through, oh, his situation is not as bad as my situation. You know, it is what it is.
Right.
You know what
like
I'm
somebody
saying?
comes to you and goes, man, I just can't seem to cover my mortgage. Well, what are you fucking bitching about? I've had 2 houses repossessed. You know, I mean, like, it's not a competition. It's not a measuring contest. We're not here
Correct.
to plop it out on the table and see whose is bigger.
Correct. And that's a problem with society today. It's we always try to one up each other.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, you know, I feel for you, you know, if you need to talk, I'll listen. Just some people just need somebody to listen.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And there is a very good key thing to remember when a friend comes to you and starts saying about something. In psychology, there's this thing that they teach you. When a child is going through something, like, I don't know, they can't find their favorite toy. As an adult, you're like, who fucking cares, man? That's a 30-cent toy. I'll go buy you another one. Who gives a shit? It doesn't seem that important to the adult necessarily. I mean, it might, but yeah, that's not the point. The point is, to the child, their world is coming to a fucking end right now.
Yep.
It is the most incredibly painful thing that has happened in their life at that moment, because that's how a child thinks. And it bleeds into adulthood. It doesn't matter how minor. Oh, it just bothers me so much that there's mud on my shoes because it's raining and I can't get to my hot tub. It doesn't matter that it seems like a first world problem. It is a problem for that person right now, or else they wouldn't be expressing it most of the time. Sometimes it's just for attention, but, you know, most of the time. And just treat it like it is the end of the world, and it really is a thing, and be supportive. And you're going to get a lot better results out of the person than if you're just like, suck it up. You know, I mean, it's horseshit. You know? I don't care if you call me and say, you know what, I just can't find a nice match to the outfit colors that I'm trying to choose. Well, you know, that doesn't seem like a big crisis to me, because my solution is just buy everything black and everything matches, right? And none of the stains show. But just because that works for me doesn't mean it works for you. And I need to be sensitive about that and go, all right, well, let's work through this. I mean, it's not rocket surgery, right? So men need to be more like that with men.
It's be part of the solution first. You know,
Right.
de-escalate, recognize that this is important to that person, be part of the solution. And then once it's done, if it isn't your child that was, and if you feel like this child might need to, you know, uh, learn to maybe not have a meltdown every time they can't find that card, just depending on the situation. But I think everybody should always be part of the solution, and not be part of, escalating things. And
you can't have a intellectual progressing a discussion in a highly emotional state.
no,
So first thing you
absolutely
got to
not.
do is talk that person off the ledge,
Mhm,
and then have a discussion about solutions.
mhm.
You also got to remember there are some toxic people in this world that you've got to not include them in the solution because they just want to be negative, or they really just want to see a shit show,
Right.
So
Right.
those people
There
are
are
just like,
those of
okay,
us
this
that just
person
want
has
to
an
see the world
opinion. It's
burn.
important to listen to that opinion, but take it at what it's worth.
Yes.
Mhm.
Hello, Susie. How are you doing?
Me, I think, had a question, Eddie, and I
I'm
don't
me.
know if. Oh, you're me.
I am.
Oh, Megan and me is the same person.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh my God. Now I feel shit because I'm like this poor person, this poor girl. Because I
Oh,
mean,
no,
I'm
I've
like,
been saying in the
she's
chat, I have
trying
something to
to
add.
say,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, she's been trying to say, I want to talk about something on this, and I'm like, this poor person hasn't even been able to say anything.
Yeah. No, that's why Eddie stopped us earlier and was like, Megan wants to say something. Because he was paying attention. So well remembered though. I
Okay.
really appreciate the fact that you remembered that me wanted to say something.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry.
That's really cool. No, that's really cool. Don't be sorry.
God, the grammar of that
awesome.
sentence hurts my head so much.
I can
So,
hear that, bro.
back to what I was saying is, I think everybody should have that one friend they can lean on. I really do. I think everybody should have that one friend they can lean on, or that one partner they can lean on. And I just, this topic is it's so serious.
It needs to be talked about more often.
Yes. And I try to, but sometimes, a lot of people just don't want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to hear it. Welcome in, Low 12. I hope you're doing well.
And that's one thing I was saying in the chat. It's like, you also can't burn people out on your venting.
No.
So
See,
because they'll just start to glaze over.
yes. Welcome in, Cold Casey.
So is there something like
Lisa
this, by the way?
Like Lisa said, everybody should have somebody they can trust.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an empath. Okay, I can take people's emotional dumping and handle it.
But you
Okay.
need your outlet too, Eddie.
Yes,
Empaths are not. They're not an empty. They're not a bottomless well. You can't take everything. You have to have your own.
Oh, I have the person I dump to.
And you have us.
Yes.
And when you want cheered up and sarcastic remarks, you have my personal number. Just saying.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, but I want to thank everybody for being here.
I got one more question for you, Ed.
Yes.
So, I don't know. Does this make me, and I'm setting myself up for it, and so it's okay to unleash and answer correctly, incorrectly. So, does this make me a chauvinist pig, right? And the question is, when you're needing to say, talk about mental health with men and the struggles that men have with mental health, I tend to be rather dismissive about a woman that has an opinion on the topic, because I equate it to, would you want somebody like me telling you what it's like to grow a human inside of you? No, you wouldn't. You don't want to hear that from me. You're in the third trimester. You're going to feel a bit of pressure. I don't know. I can't have that, right? Therefore, you don't know what it's like to be a man, because we have the ability to whatever's bothering us, we could just choke
Now,
it.
can I
you know,
interrupt?
I do have a
Can
response. I do have a very quick response to that. A lot of the men's, the reason why they don't want to share their feelings is because of like what women will think or how it will like. So I think a women's opinion on the subject, and knowing that most women find it sexy when a guy can understand his emotions and feel them. He doesn't have to do it publicly. He doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to do it with them, with the female, just with somebody, you know, talk to somebody, you know, and like, I think a woman's opinion is important to the men because I'm sorry, men are constantly warring over women.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's invalid. I'm saying like in the initial stages of a male crisis, I prefer to talk to another man about it because then I don't worry that somebody is going to judge possibly how my prostate works or, you know, what else that causes.
I think it depends on the topic, depends on who you need to go to.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to go to you when I'm pregnant in my 3rd trimester, and definitely not.
There you go.
I might go to
my gyno is a male.
Well, gynos are different because they're doctors. They understand they're there for a reason. Ro is not a gyno. We know that.
No, but I'll take a look if you want me to. Just saying.
Right. So I'm just saying,
For
I would go to Megan before I would Ro on that, but I may go to Ro on something else versus Megan. But I think it's subject. The category of the subject depends on, I think, who you need to go to. Like Lisa said earlier, and I'm the same way. I have way better male friends than girlfriends.
Absolutely, 100%.
And
right, and not to invalidate, not to prove that I am.
Let me answer a question.
But let me hear what Eddie has to say about it.
I interrupted you. I apologize. Go ahead, Eddie.
So, Susie, MDD stands for major depressive disorder. That's what we talked about earlier in the video. And then we went off and on to how it's hard for men to communicate their emotions. So after I answered that question, I lost in thought, my train of thought.
It's okay.
But I want to hear your thoughts, Eddie, on why it is easier sometimes to talk to a trusted male than it is to talk to a trusted female.
Well, it also depends on the circumstance, okay?
Sure.
And what you're talking about, okay?
Anything that could possibly be used to question your manhood, at that point, you definitely don't want a potential future mate being exposed to that. That's how I feel.
So, say for example, right? It's not even a hypothetical. It's hard for me to go to a man and talk about my childhood. It's easier for me to talk to a woman because they're more connected with their emotions than a man is. Now, if I'm having trouble with my marriage and what to do, I might go to another man and get his opinion, especially if he's been married 20, 30 years. You know what I'm saying?
Just to validate the feelings you're having.
Not to validate. I don't need my feelings validated.
Technically, you do.
Not
That's
really.
What YouTube's for.
Okay, so if I need my feelings validated, that's what you go to therapy for. Okay.
Yeah, I go to my therapy friend. Didn't exist for so long that it was your male buddies that was your therapy.
And that's what's my male buddies is a lot of them has used what I've told them as ammunition against me.
Right.
So I don't have those male buddies. I have two that know my history inside and out. Know why I was an alcoholic, why I quit drinking, how reality kicked me in the ass, that I've been in the mental hospital twice. These two friends.
Historically speaking, though, those are new developments.
Yes. Okay. You know, and these two friends I call my brothers. Okay. These two friends I call my brothers, and they're not blood. But I call them my brothers. But they can also come to me when they're going through a situation. when it's hard for them and talk about it. And they know they can because they have. But but when I have certain issues that I'm going through, I find it easier talking to a female sometimes because they're more understanding.
Right.
Not a lot of
situational though.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's the reason why
when it comes to your quote manhood and how it relates to yes, but when it comes to your manhood and how it relates to your relationships with women, especially when it is a specific
that's
woman.
why.
Say your wife, you're having an issue with your wife. You can't sit down and talk to your wife initially because you're going to say stupid shit that's going to get you in the doghouse.
That's why I just said you would go in and find a male buddy that's been married for a while. You're not going to go talk to a single buddy that's not been in a relationship about your wife. You're going to find a buddy that's been married for a long time to say, hey, this is the situation I'm going through. How do you handle that situation? Because you've been married for so long, so you probably understand.
Okay, well, let's extend your hypothetical then. So in that hypothetical, he goes home, and as married couples do, you talk about stuff on, while you're getting ready for bed or whatever the case may be. And his wife finds out that you're struggling in a relationship. Now, she comes to you trying to interject her, quote, wisdom into it, and you're not ready to get a female's perspective yet. And now it feels like you're just being told, this is what you're doing wrong.
Now,
listen to me.
If I go to a guy friend, okay, and then his wife tries to interject, I will never go to that guy friend again.
I was going to say, usually, if you're going to an older male who's been married for, a long time, he probably isn't even going to mention that to his wife.
If his wife is that way. Otherwise, she doesn't repeat things, and he can talk to her because she doesn't get in your business.
Right.
You got to trust your man. You got to trust the guy you're going to. Either he's going to have the discretion of not telling her, or he trusts her enough, and you should trust his judgment.
And he knows whether he should say something or not.
This makes the point that all of this is a minefield that you have to navigate.
Yes.
Right.
Every person is a different mind, a different field.
Right.
A different
but
puzzle.
like you take my community, for example, there are 15 different programs for domestic violence on women. There are none for domestic problems with men.
25%.
And that's, I think, a lot of what Eddie is talking about. I think that's what Eddie's talking about. Well, numbers there are not. It's a problem because these men that don't have an outlet for their domestic problems quite literally have nowhere to go, but eventually doing more and more risque behavior, and then eventually doing something stupid like just fucking disappearing.
They do have places to go now. Now they have places to
go.
No,
they still don't. Men still don't have a place to go to.
They get laughed at. I've seen a cop make fun of a victim of domestic violence because he was a man. He's just like, "Oh, your girlfriend," and I'm like, "Dude, that is unprofessional. That guy needs to not be a cop. Like that's effed up."
Sure. The point is for Eddie,
the support is
it's just trying to bring awareness that there isn't as much support for men's issues than there is for female issues. We have entire months of like female issues, right? The whole nation can come to a grind or whatever, but a dude gets his pecker cut off and people are laughing at it at the water cooler next day. Stumpy, I mean, so that's all we're trying to say. We're not trying to invalidate anybody's opinion or anything like that. It's just like, hey, maybe, just maybe, the monster you need to keep society safe, because honestly, it is a predominantly male thing to keep society safe from people doing stupid stuff. So let's try to keep the monster farther away from the edge of being full-blown monster. Right.
I agree with that. With everybody.
I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story about my cousin Bobby. He's still a police officer, but he shows up to a call thinking he's going to go arrest a man, and it wasn't a man he was going to arrest. It was the opposite, And the thing is, right, is it was the total opposite. And it's just, it's hard to explain because I was in a very violent relationship. I had my life threatened multiple times and I had no outlet because the person lived under my roof and I couldn't easily just say, get the F out. And my mom lived with me, so I wasn't going to move out and leave that person here. So I had to slowly, I broke up with the person and they slowly moved out. But the thing is I was in a situation where I couldn't easily just leave it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not easy for men if they're in that situation to get out of. It's
I don't
easier,
think it's easy for anybody to get out of that situation. Period.
but they have facilities for women that they could go to and nobody finds out. Only reason why I know this is because I have male friends that do this type of work.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do it when I was a cop on the side.
Okay. They don't have facilities like this because we're men.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We're
When was the
held
last
at-
time you heard about a men's shelter?
They have one in Portland. One in Portland. Well, they will not
Well, and
let
that
you
was-
know. They cannot confirm
And it can
nor
serve
deny
all
that
340
person is
million
Right.
Americans.
Right.
I'm
They
just saying.
can't.
One exists
Now-
that I know of.
I will tell you, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about my son being really big and his, wife beating on him and him not thinking that, he it's not that he doesn't want to pick up the phone and call the cops. It's, the fact that mom, I'm 6'6", 200 something pounds. She's 5 foot, 100 pounds. I can take it. But it's the mind thought of changing that. And that's why I brought up the Johnny Depp deal, is because it is bringing awareness for DV for men.
Yes.
Because I do
Sure,
think
but
that's
like
important.
saying like, oh, there's solutions now, we don't have to worry about it, is not the way to approach it.
No
No,
one's saying
no.
there's solutions. We don't have to worry about it. We're not saying that at all. We're saying we need to
No.
bring more awareness to it for sure.
Yes.
We
Yes.
need to
Right.
empower more men to speak up, because I think the reason the numbers are so low is because men, generationally, have been told,
Mhm.
"Nuh-uh, you don't tell. No, you suck it up. You just
Now-
deal with it.
Well,
You
and
bury that
also there's the other
Period.
side of it too. When you're 6'6" like Eddie or 6'3" like I am,
Oh yeah.
and a little 100-pounder is beating on you, you're doing your best in the moment not to laugh, because that's just going to make her more mad, right?
But it's
Like,
fun.
oh, isn't it cute when the hobbits get mad? It's like when a squirrel's screaming at you from a tree.
Sometimes.
It's
yeah.
hilarious.
Small
Right.
little creatures are fast, man.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Right,
And you're at a
but the
disadvantage
point
if
is,
you're not
you're
fighting
as
against
your
the person,
your
you're just
own
trying to defend
instinctual
yourself.
manhood, your own instinctual manhood says this is kind of funny, and it's not funny, but your own instinct tells you this isn't really a threat until they're holding a weapon, and the great equalizer. So
There you go.
whether it's a machete or a pistol or whatever, like until then, it's could be laughed off as comical. And it really is a mindset that we shouldn't be in, even though I've been in it before, because God knows I can piss women off. And like I have a plan. If a woman attacks me, I that's how often it's happened. So if that does happen, at the time, I'm doing my best not to laugh, because I can take a hit from a full grown man. You think I can't take a little punch from a squirrel, So
I will have to argue there's some of those squirrels out there that can hit harder than a lot of
I
men.
was gonna say
You're also
that's
forgetting-
why I'm
well,
saying.
yes,
You're
anecdotally,
also
but
forgetting the
86%
power of
of
the
women
women's
could punch me and I'd be fine.
But
Yeah.
you're also
Uh,
forgetting the power that a woman can just be like, I'm the victim, even though they're the aggressor.
Okay,
They'll
right
be
there,
believed
right
before
there.
the men as well.
Right. Well,
But,
that's
like,
later,
at least
but in the
now,
moment.
They're starting to recognize women can be abusive and aggressive as well. Now
Okay.
cops are really starting to kind of investigate more instead of just taking the obvious.
I liked our
Okay.
policy when I was on the force. You arrest everybody and let a judge sort it out.
Okay, now can I? I'm sorry. This right here is the main issue of why I even brought that up. Now, my son I was talking about, who's 6'6", he went through a divorce. While he went through a divorce, he came in, he moved in with me. Now, during that time, he started seeing this girl, and she was very tiny. I'm 4'6", she was probably 4'10". My son's 6'6". He could not hurt a fly, ever, okay? So, and I was in a 7-year domestic violence relationship with his father, and he saw certain things, and he's just an advocate against it. The young lady he got into a relationship with had 2 marriages prior, and had the one she was divorcing and then the one prior to, and both of those she said she was, DV'd in. Now, she's with my son. Well, she's not going to have that problem with my son. Well, she got mad at my son, and she came to our house and was just causing all kinds of drama. Well, he went and stayed with a friend for a weekend. She went over there. She caused all kinds of drama. She was doing things to him physically. And then when she left, she went and made a report. And do you know, there was, and I'm not exaggerating, every cop in my town, plus the town over, was at my house looking for him. Didn't ask questions, nothing. He didn't even know what was going on. I had to call him and say, hey, can you come over here? And when he got here, they grabbed him, slammed him down on the ground, handcuffed him, put him in the car. And would you not believe, when he went to court, now they drug it out for 2 years. He finally goes to court, and he gets charged and has to go spend 3 months in jail. That's on his record now, the only thing that's ever been on his record, because one girl lied. And I said, where is the proof? And they said, her words. And I said, well, does his words not matter? So now here you've got this man that has 4 kids now, because he had 3, now he has 4, who had nothing on his record. And he's got domestic violence by strangulation.
Oh, shit.
Which is right under, what is it, 2nd degree? And he's got 2 of those charges. They tried to do kidnapping because they said she said he stood in the way of the fence door, which he didn't, she did. They did drop. He was charged with 7 charges. They dropped it down to 4.
You mind if I ask you what year this was? I'm sorry.
This happened, hon, when did that happen with T? Like, what, 3 years? Well, it would have been 3 years ago, because about 3 years ago, because it was drug out for the, 2 years, like courts always do. And he had a private attorney, which, by the way, his attorney did a shitty ass job. But I'm asking right there, I'm like, well, where's the proof? And they were picking. Now, since then, she has been back to my house. So if she, and she had a VPO put on him.
Super scared,
they never
right?
asked. Yeah. She had a VPO put on him.
Being sarcastic. She wasn't scared.
They never had the 5-day comeback to have that dropped, because it should have been dropped. But yet she came to my house bringing another guy later that was drunk with a gun. With combined, she has 5 kids and he had like 2, so 7 kids and a vehicle. They're drunk. I call the attorney right away. It's like 10:30 at night, and I'm like, hey, what do I need to be doing? And they're like, well, I guess you can call the cops. Well, so you call the cops. By then, she's gone, and it still didn't help him in any way. So I'm not saying that anything, Ro, that you were saying is not true. I'm being more of an advocate for the males, because she had nothing, that she had no marks on her. She said he choked her out 3 times. The guy that I said he went and stayed with for the
All
weekend
right,
came home.
this is getting too detailed. This is getting
Yeah,
triggering.
I say just as some like any he said she said argument, you got to look at like history. Who has a history of this type of, like, you can't just go off of, well, she said that, she must be right. I agree. There needs to be more advocate for abused men or men that are just doubted. And believe me, I mean, I've been attacked by men.
Yeah, can we change the subject? Can we change the subject,
and I'm like,
please?
because I've seen women just take advantage of the system.
Yes. Change the subject, please.
We can, yes.
Yes. So, communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to work on is communication. Period. You know, when you're in a relationship, communication. And if there's a lack of communication, that means that relationship's not going to work.
That's right. That foundation's cracked.
Yeah.
So
try to make it work. Try to communicate, and if it doesn't work out, then move on.
Lisa says, Eddie, you need a safe word.
I did. I didn't use it. I didn't use Thor. That's a safe word.
Was that the safe word?
Yeah, Thor. The God of Thunder.
I need to find you an animation that shows like a comic book depiction of Thor where you just plaster it over everything and it's just a big rolling thunder and lightning bolt comes out and that's your safe word. Just like boom, 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 subject change, you know.
Yeah, that would be cool. So.
But you know, that's the one thing I try to tell you, Eddie, and just as a, you know, somebody I think is a great person, you should have kind of a ability, I think, that is lacking at this point, to be able to discuss things without the common thing for people to do is go, oh, that's how you feel? Well, the reason behind that is this and this and this and this. And the example is this and this and this. None of that matters at all when you're going through something. You just need to talk about it.
Yes.
Like,
I agree. I just need somebody
I can explain the psychological fucking theorems behind a lot of stuff. That's not what you need to hear in the moment. What you need to hear in the moment is, we're going to work through this.
Yes.
That's it.
Plain and simple.
So, yeah.
That's why the best therapists don't always have answers. They just kind of guide you through your own thought process.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever want somebody to tell me what to do. I just need them to listen. And if they have advice or an opinion, that's fine to share it.
Mm-hmm.
But
what I often say is, what I would do in your situation is this, and you can take it for whatever you want. You can be like, you're a fucking idiot. I don't care what you would do. And I'd be like, all right, well, you know, I'm just letting you know what I would do, you know, and, you know, that's it.
Yep. That's why you say you share your thought, your opinion. You never tell somebody what to do, because if you do, and they go and do what you said to do, and it falls backwards on them, they're going to come back and blame you.
Right.
That's the reason why
and of course, the big thing is, I don't find that offering advice really helps in the moment. But you know what does help in the moment? How many times have you just called me on Discord and you've been like, man, this shit's going on and whatever. And I'm like, okay, did you hear about this thing? And like the next thing you know, you're laughing your fucking brains out, because dark humor, comedy, those are the best ways to deal with things in the moment, to where it can calm you down, get you in a better state, to where you can actually try and find a solution. Because you're not going to find a solution when you're elevated emotionally.
Yep.
So comedy and humor, well, okay, so not to get too deep into it, but at one time, especially after my strokes, I got to a point where, you know, I would have been a statistic, right? What saved me from those times was the black gallows humor of my old army buddies, making just ridiculously dark, inappropriate jokes. And that was enough to get me out of the woods. Right there. So I can flat out anecdotally and statistically show you exactly how good humor is for your soul, especially when you're going in dark times. But people judge you about that too. How can you make a joke at a time like this? Well, because if I don't, things are going to get really sideways really fast.
Yeah, my defense mechanism is to make a joke about whatever's serious. And sometimes I feel like an ass for doing it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's just my defense mechanism. But it makes me feel better, and it usually will kind of lighten the load, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, I lean into the whole asshole thing, which is why normally it says row the hated instead of just tired of typing.
That's another thing I do. That's another thing I do is when somebody is venting to me, you're right, I do try to make humor after the venting to lighten the mood. That's what I do too. I will change the subject.
Yeah.
I'll let the person vent, and then I will change the subject.
Right. You make the supportive gestures. You say, you know, oh, man, that sucks, man. I don't know what I do in that situation, and blah, blah, blah. You know, you validate that it's okay that they're upset, right? That they're not weird for being upset. You validate, right? And then
and normalize.
While you're here, did you hear about this monkey the other day that threw a turd at a tourist and blah blah blah? And, you know, and you're laughing, whatever funny thing you're
Yes.
And it gets them out of that headspace. Because how many people we know that have been in crisis for way too long because they just continuously rehash.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's been years and they're still like not made any progress. It's because nobody's had the mindset to just get them out of their headspace for a moment so that they can look at it from what I call a 40,000 foot view, you know, just looking at the big picture right now, whatever you're going through. I don't care. Anybody out there in chat, anybody anywhere, whatever you're going through, 10 years from now, it will look a lot different. So don't stress about what's happening now to the point of doing something stupid or permanent for a temporary thing. And what is the thing they talk about in the 12-step program? This too shall pass. Like, just, you know that they're about to foreclose on your home and all this kind of stuff. 10 years from now, you're going to be in a different home, whatever the situation is, either that home or another one or whatever it is. Something's going to happen. You just don't know what it is yet. So white knuckle and write it out. And it's not being like man up and blah, blah, blah. It's none of that stuff. It's, look, the world has been around long enough. Humans have been around long enough. No individual situation is new. Quite literally, somebody has been through the exact things you're going through right now in a very, very similar situation. And some of them made it out. Therefore, there is light at the end of the tunnel. You know, you just can't see it yet. You haven't made it around whatever corner it is that's blocking the light. So sometimes all you can do is hang on for now, which is, you know, talking about, you know, watching YouTube videos of, you know, dumbass drivers or watching YouTube people of drunks trying to walk upstairs, whatever ridiculously funny and pointless thing there is. Sometimes that's all you have until the situation, you know, is remedied.
Yes.
YouTube always has the answers. Because even
yeah,
at the beginning of a
cats
distressful
attacking
time,
bears, you know.
But even at the beginning of a distressful situation, I'll put on like the thing I want to learn about that situation, you know, and then I'll be like, okay, time for cat videos, you know, or fails.
or octopus messes with scuba diver.
They're amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just
they can make anyone smile.
Anything.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Or if they didn't delete it off of YouTube, you could go back and watch my premiere video that got me so much where this old guy gets in the water and shoots a 50 cal and forgets that the concussion wave basically feels like you're being kicked in the nuts rapidly, and his friends have to drag him out of the water before he drowns. It's hilarious.
Can you post it in Discord? I'd love to see it.
Oh no, my whole channel got deleted because of other stuff.
Even in Discord?
You know, the video's been deleted. It was I talked about the jabby jab too much in 2020. And they're like, you're deleted. So but no, I mean, it was a hilarious video. I'm literally this big 6'3" in tactical gear and everything with a big 50 cal Barrett. all this stuff, tough guy, get in the water. I'm going to do this. And then, I'm sitting there crying like a little girl on the side of the bank because my buddies had dragged me up and they're all laughing their butts off while I'm just holding my, manhood. Crying. They're like, oh, I think they liquefied my testicles.
So,
maybe
right.
There's also comfort in knowing you're not alone. Go ahead,
Yes.
Eddie. Sorry.
Yes, I agree. There's also comfort in knowing you're not alone. I want to thank everybody for being up here and those in chat. This was a hard discussion, but it's much needed. And what's going on, Vic? How you doing? But it was a much needed discussion.
It's definitely one of the topics that I have strong feelings about.
So I want to
think it's so important to talk to people who don't, that you don't know how they feel. I think that's so important. I think we should take taboo away from all the taboo subjects.
Yes.
Get out of your echo chamber.
So I want to thank everybody for being here. Mavid, Lisa, Megan for being up here a little bit. Ro, thank you for coming up. Just want to thank everybody for being here. I will see you guys tomorrow. Be on the lookout. I will have a guest coming up Wednesday, 8:30. My friend Tattooed Angel has a channel where she does karaoke on Friday and Saturday nights, but she also does mental health herself. She's going to be a guest. So, but yeah, so be on the lookout for that.
Eddie, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
thank you for being here, Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, everybody. That is it for now. All Things Serious.
Bye, say bye.
Is out, my friends.
Let's talk about the mind for a minute. The kind of battles fought, you don't just win it. It's a war zone inside, no camouflage. Every thought's a grenade, sitting ready to barrage. Growing up, they said man up, but never speak up. So I bottled it all, like a shaking soda cup. Pressure building inside, I could feel it crack. But the world outside only sees the mask, not the fact. Depression knocking at the door, anxiety's my guest. They invited themselves in, now I'm under duress. But mental health ain't a weakness, it's the strength to own. Every scar, every tear, every struggle we've honed. It's okay not to be okay. Don't let anyone take your light away. In the darkness, you'll find your voice. Speak your truth, make your choice. It's okay not to be okay. Don't let anyone take your light away. In the darkness, you'll find your voice. Speak your truth, make your choice. Seamless like a shadow, it follows you around. But I'm breaking the silence, gonna tear it down. Got therapy sessions, journaling pages, finding peace in the chaos, flipping life stages. Self-love's a journey, not a destination. Gotta navigate the pitfalls, find your elevation. No shame asking for help, we all need a hand. Together we rise like a hip-hop band. So let's rewrite the narrative, redefine the game. Mental health ain't just a buzzword, it's our flame. Illuminate the darkness, spark the conversation. All things serious and mental health, a powerful nation. It's okay not to be okay. Don't let anyone take your light away. In the darkness, you'll find your voice. Speak your truth, make your choice. It's okay not to be okay. Don't let anyone take your light away. In the darkness, you'll find your voice. Speak your truth, make your choice. All my warriors fighting in the shadows. No, you're not alone, we're a pack of arrows. Piercing through the stigma, breaking chains. All things serious and mental health, rewriting our refrains. So let's keep spitting verses, sharing our stories. Hip-hop about mental health, reclaiming our glories. One beat, one rhyme, one soul at a time. Together we'll shine in this rhythm and rhyme.